What is Trudeau talking about here? Are we talking about something that's political, ideological, or just plain old does not make financial common sense?
If we're going to talk about fairness for every generation, we're going to actually have to try and rebalance things at least a little bit. One of the things that always comes up for me is the idea that on housing, you have a whole bunch of older folks who are living in houses that are too much house for them right now, but their connection to neighborhood, to community means that no, they don't want to move out to the suburbs or to some different city to be closer to their grandkids. They want to still live in their community's quality of life, and there is no housing that they can afford even to downsize other than staying in their big house.
This is about fairness for every generation, or that's what Trudeau is calling it. Fairness for every generation. He's trying to discuss a very interesting topic that is important for us from a real estate standpoint. Yes, I know there is the political angle, and we may have very strong feelings as it pertains to the politics of it. I'm going to talk about it from the real estate side. Fairness for every generation. What is this topic that Trudeau has brought up? He's brought it up a couple of times now, where he also calls it generational equality. That is that the older generations have bought real estate. They've bought homes, and those homes have gone up in value greatly in his estimation, and quite frankly, in the public's estimation. They've gone up massively. The way that we want to look at it is this. People have bought a property, they've continued to put money into it, they've renovated it, done all these things. But what an asset does is always the same. Throughout history, assets do this one thing, and it is a equalization calculation. That is, a hard asset will always go up in value in accordance with the depreciation of the dollars that are used to buy it. Homes used to be about $5,000. You could buy a house for $5,000. And the average median income at that time was $3,000. Now, the median income is, I believe, $74,000 for a family, and homes are quadruple, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $1 million too, depending on where you live. Now, how does that work out? It's because our government have been printing money for generations. For decades, we've watched as they've continued to print money. That has led to assets soaking up those dollars, all those extra dollars. We've watched as back in the 70s, you could buy gold for $7 an ounce. Then it went up to $35, $200, $400. Now we're at $2,000 or over $2,000 an ounce for gold now. Hard assets do this accounting. So when we're looking at our real estate, what he's not pointing out is that your home has done an accounting of all the money that has been printed. Now, where does that leave you and I as it comes to fairness for every generation? It means that the current generations do not have the savings to be able to afford those houses. But that's not a result of the house. That's a result of the wages that people are earning right now. People are not earning compensatory with the true valuation of assets, the true valuation of food. People are not seeing the same growth in their income. Now, part of that is due to mass immigration or mass migration. Yes, we have had a ton of people coming into the country. And we've also seen mass taxing on corporations, on capital gains, money that people could have and companies could have put to their employees to fight for their employees to to retain them instead has gone towards taxes or flat out left the country. Now, I do want to talk about this other issue, what Trudeau is suggesting, what he's suggesting for a fairness tax, generational fairness. He is suggesting that primary residence, your home, be taxed as capital gains above what its value is, what you purchased it at. Now, they realize they obviously can't go back. If someone bought a house for $5,000, you can't tax someone based on that purchase price. So instead, they're going to try to bring in, say, any home above $1 million. If you bought a home below $1 million and it's now above $1 million, well, we'll tax you up to that $1 million mark. So if now your home has gone to $1.2 million, they'll tax you on the $200,000. Capital gains will apply to that. That's what they're discussing. Now, where did they come up with this idea? This is the interesting crux that I actually appreciate Trudeau talking about in this video. He talks about European nations who don't have that exemption. He talks about how a home is not considered off limits to the government when taxing. Now, you and I are used to primary homes, our home, our house, not being taxed. A lot of Europeans go to a place like Germany. People are not accustomed to that. Now, that is an ideology. Let's just look at what that ideology is. If you're talking about taxing a primary residence, your house, what we're looking at from the government standpoint is obviously this. It's about taxation. Don't buy into the generational fairness. What this is really about is about taxation, where you can get dollars, plain and simple. But you may agree with that ideology, in which case, what does it promote is the question that we want to ask, because maybe there are benefits to it. Maybe there are benefits to that ideology. And what that creates when you tax someone's primary residence is an understanding that this is not a long-term generational strategy. Because if I buy this and then it gets sold when I die, this large amount is going to be taxed and go to the government. So maybe I need to move my money somewhere else. So as a result, you will have a greater number of people that will sell their residence, sell their homes. It's just a place that they live. People will stop looking at it as generational. That will mean more people will move around. It also will mean that home prices will hold off. They won't be able to keep going up with the devaluation of the dollar. Now, why would that be the case? It's because people will recognize, you and I are going to recognize that we are going to get taxed on it. So why put our money there? Go move our money somewhere else. And so people will live in it for a time with their family, with their kids, and then they're going to sell it off before they pass away, which is quite normal in European countries. In fact, renting is quite normal in a lot of these countries. It's very much like renting a house for that period of time. That is the ideology of taxing a primary residence. You, instead of creating a home as a generational asset, you're turning it into a form of rental product so that people are in it and then they're out of it. They're in it and then they're out of it, and they continue to move along. Now, if you agree with that ideology, it has its advantages. It means that there's going to be more homes available. House prices will not skyrocket as much as we see now, because you're not going to be able to hold on to it long term. It's going to get taxed at a higher tax rate, all of these types of things. And you may not agree with it. What I will say on this one topic, there are millions of people that have bought real estate, bought their homes based on being able to keep it and it not being taxed for the entirety of their life. You cannot, I believe, retroactively make these decisions. If you want to change this in the future, make it as part of your policy for 2025 and your platform that you are going to start taxing people when they buy a property if it goes over $1 million, and you're going to charge them capital gains. By all means, carry on. Do not penalize the millions of homeowners that spent everything they had to be able to build a nice home for them and their kids, only to find out that they're going to get penalized and have a capital gains tax applied to their home.
The talk in the world of investment, they make their mark.